Okay. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the school committee meeting of April 10th, 2013. We will start with a roll call, and Dr. Quick is not here yet, but she will be arriving shortly. Thank you. And as you all know, Kathleen Carroll, she's unable to be here tonight, but there was good news on her daughter's operation, and I'm very happy to report that the operation went very well. But now we have to keep her in our prayers that things go well these next few days. So we were glad to hear that. Okay. Our first item of business is the consent agenda. Superintendent Benton.
Good evening, everyone. Before I address the consent agenda, as you know, we're a member of the SEAM Collaborative, and one of our students passed away today. She was the student who was in the fire in Gloucester, a middle school student in the SEAM Collaborative, so I ask you all a moment of silence. Thank you. I know you all join me in sending your condolences to the SEAM community. Absolutely. We have three items on our consent agenda this evening: the approval of the March 13th regular session minutes and the executive session minutes, warrants, payroll 313, 327, food service 17 and 18, circuit breaker 13 and 14, sped 18 and 19, grants 418, 419, R223, R224, R225, R226, and L29, L30. And last, out-of-state field trip for Wilmington High School DECA. I'm pleased to announce that we are sending 8 students to Anaheim, California. 4 of them will compete, and 4 of them will participate in a leadership development conference. It's the largest group we've had, and congratulate Krista Anderson and the students.
Thank you. I'd entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of March 13th, 2013, regular session and executive session. Mrs. Bonish.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of March 13th, 2013, regular and executive session.
Thank you. And a second, Mr. Mule. All right. All those in favor? Unanimous, Linda?
I can't vote. I wasn't here for the second, for the public session to those minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All those in favor? Okay, 5. And one abstain.
Thank you.
Mrs. Burns. Thank you, Mrs. Burns. We would accept a motion for the payroll warrant. Mrs. Burns.
I make a motion to accept the payroll warrant of 313.13, 327.13.
Okay, and do we have a second? Dr. Quick, thank you. All those in favor? 5 in favor, 1 abstain. Mrs. Kane. Thank you. I'm going to try and figure out which ones we can all do. The food service 17, and I'd entertain a motion for food service 17 and 18, and for the G's, R's, and L's. Mr. Hayes.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Dr. Quick, thank you. All those in favor? Unanimous. And the last one would be, I'd entertain a motion for CB 13, CB 14, SPED 18, and SPED 19. Okay, all those in favor? Oh, motion, I need a motion. Mr. Mule.
So moved.
Okay, second. Mrs. Bonish. All those in favor? 5, and abstain? 1. Thank you, Mrs. Burns. Thank you. I'd entertain a motion for the out-of-state field trip with the Wilmington High School DECA program to Anaheim, California. Mr. Hayes?
So moved.
Second, Mrs. Burns. Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much. Okay. Our next item of business is our student representative report. Hi, Jess. Welcome tonight.
Hi, thank you for having me again. For our past events, the junior prom took place last Friday from 7 to 11 at Tewksbury Country Club. Culture Fest took place here on March 21st. The March 15th was the talent show. Senior faculty basketball game happened on March 13th. Still Falls the Rain, the one-act play for the drama club, went to state finals. And the spring season for sports began about 2 weeks ago. For more current and future events, the Pops concert is happening at the middle school tomorrow night, 7 p.m. for the jazz band. Strings Attached leaves for Ireland on Friday. There's leadership training taking place today and will be tomorrow in here for girls and boys. The Foreign Language Club is going to Montreal over vacation, and the National Honor Society induction ceremony is April 29th.
Excellent, thank you. You could have a real good social life here, couldn't you? Those are great. And they're so successful, and everybody's having such a good time with these. Do we have any comments? Mr. Hayes?
Great job as usual, Jessica. Quick question, is the faculty still defeating the seniors on a regular basis in this basketball game?
I honestly don't know. I couldn't make it.
Oh, okay.
Are we waiting? Yes, does anyone in the faculty know? Yes.
They did.
They always used to win when I was there, too.
Oh, good. Jessica, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, our next item of business, Superintendents Report, Student Awards.
Wilmington High School students have shined on the field, on the ice, on the stage, and with their art and photography over the past few months. I'd like to congratulate Wilmington High School student Ryan Clark for winning a silver medal for his photograph cranes in the National Scholastic Art and Writing Award competition. Congratulations to the Division II Boys Hockey State Champions. Congratulations to the Wilmington High School Lamplighters Drama Guild for a fantastic performance at the state finals in Boston. This was the first time Wilmington High School placed in the state finals. Still Falls the Rain is an original one-act play written by high school student Katie Barry. It also features an original music score composed by fellow student Connor Burke. And if you have not seen it, you have one more opportunity to see it on April 27th. And I have seen it twice. I highly recommend it. It is well worth it, and congratulations to all the students. Congratulations to Wilmington High School senior Savannah Hubbard for winning Best of School for her Peace Street Performer at the 6th Congressional District High School Art Competition. The awards were presented Saturday, March 9th by U.S. Representative John Tierney. Congratulations to our Wildcat track members for their strong performance. The Division III State Championship, the boys 4x4 team of Pat Berry, Colin Chase, Andrew Sears, and Steve Hallis were crowned state champs. Congratulations to Eric Alatalo, Retail Marketing, and Brian Prian, Quizbo, who won their categories in the DECA State Champions. This year, we are most proud of an amazing amount of top 10 finishes in their categories, as half of our Wilmington High School students, 22 of them placed in the top 10. There are a total of 1,700 students at the DECA conference, and we had many winners of medals in the test, role-playing subcategories, and 35 out of our 41 students were recognized for national competency. In addition, Eric Alatalo won an academic scholarship from DECA in recognition of his contributions to the program. Our chapter also won a number of Leadership Academy spots for the international competition. Some of the students that I just listed, the hockey team, Lamplighters, Ryan Clark, and the track 4x4 will be honored by the selectmen on Monday, April 22nd in the Town Hall Auditorium, and we invite you all to attend. I've attached a report from Diane Hibbler on the Global Child classes that were taught this year. And lastly, at your place this evening, you should have found an invitation to the high school groundbreaking, which is going to take place April 25th at noon on the town common, and we invite everyone to join us.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay. Our next item of business is old business. It is the middle school schedule. Because I have a daughter who teaches at the middle school, and she would be affected either way, I've been advised that I should recuse myself from this discussion, and therefore I've made arrangements for Mr. Hayes to take over. We're going to switch seats, and Mr. Hayes will be in charge of the discussion tonight. Thank you.
I've always wanted to sit in this seat, but I wish it was under better circumstances. That's okay. All right. Okay, let me get organized here real quick. All right, so next up on the agenda is old business, and it's regarding the middle school schedule, and I'm just going to turn it over initially to Superintendent Ben just to introduce the agenda item.
This evening, we have reached a point where I believe we need to hear from all of you and on the recommendation that we made on the middle school schedule.
Thank you. Short and sweet, I like that. All right, so just to set the table tonight, the school committee was supposed to first hear the middle school schedule proposal at our February 13th meeting. That presentation was delayed because Principal McMiniman was unable to meet with her staff due to a snowstorm. So the school committee wound up hearing this proposal at our February 27th meeting. We discussed the issue for nearly 2 hours, felt like 4, and the discussion was covered by the Crier, Patch and Son, rebroadcasted on WCTV dozens of times. The school committee was supposed to vote on the proposal at its March 13th meeting. Several members, myself included, felt it was best to receive some formal feedback from parents before casting a vote. The superintendent concurred, and so as a result, the vote was postponed until tonight. In the meanwhile, the middle school organized a parents' night to present the proposed schedule changes on Wednesday, April 3rd, last week. Well, it was poorly attended, but we'll leave it there for now. So at the end of the parents' night, Superintendent Benton asked for feedback, and yesterday, Superintendent Benton shared with us 7 letters that she had since received from parents, and I believe several of them are in the audience. I'm gonna list your names just so you know that we've received your letters, if that's okay.
Yeah, they're public record.
They're public
Everything
record.
in this public record.
Cheryl Slater, Christine Nally, Kathy Timmins, Julie Santini, Kristen Stokes, Dolores Mayenza, and Christine D'Ambrose. Apologize if I mispronounced. So we are in possession of your letters, and we have read them. I would characterize the letters as against the proposed changes, with an emphasis on the cuts to phys ed, cuts to foreign language, and just a lack of communication between the parents and the school. Okay, and so then what we're going to do first is we're going to go to the public. So if anyone here would like to make a comment, we'd love to hear from you. I just want to briefly go over the policy. I just want to hit the key points. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to present their material. The presiding chairperson may permit an extension of this time limit. You get 3 minutes. If at the end of 3 minutes you tell a joke that makes me laugh, I'll give you an extra minute. And if you tell a joke that makes Paul Ruggiero laugh, I'll give you 2 extra minutes. And if you make Paul cry, I'll give you 3 minutes. So topics for discussion must be limited to those items listed on the meeting agenda. In this case, we'll just be discussing the middle school proposed schedule changes. This only happens on Monday nights, but I'm going to say this anyway, even though it's a Wednesday night. Improper conduct and remarks will not be allowed. Defamatory or abusive remarks are always out of order. If a speaker persists in improper conduct or remarks, the chairperson may terminate that individual's privilege of address. All remarks will be addressed through the chairperson of the meeting. And finally, speakers may offer such objective criticisms of the school operations and programs, but in public session, the committee will not hear personal complaints of school personnel nor against any member of the school community. So is there anyone from the public who would like to speak tonight? Gosh, I went through all that. Are you sure? Okay. Well, I'm surprised, but that's great. So now what I'm going to, you.
I didn't want to be the first one, but.
No, that's fine, that's fine. So if you want to stand, that would be great.
Okay.
And if you could give your name and your address for the record, and you get 3 minutes.
All right. My name is Katie Callahan. I live at 27 Dayton Drive. I understand your concern with the scores, but I guess I grew up in Wilmington. We had, at the North Intermediate, there was 7th and 8th grade, and we were still going out for recess, so at least we had some activity. So I just feel as though they don't get recess, and now you are going to slice gym. I feel as though there's so much more pressure, and understandably, going from the north or the west to the middle school. I see it in my son, and he's finally just gotten his act together. But like they need to let off steam. They need those classes. He really never liked gym. Now he lives for gym. He didn't like art. He loves art now. So I think they need an outlet, and I just would really be sad to see that go. That's it. My 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. Kathy, was it?
Katie.
Katie, I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Katie. Did anyone else from the public like to speak tonight?
I will. I have a question, is that okay?
That's absolutely fine.
Unfortunately-
And I just wanted to let folks know that the administration and leadership, the administration and some of the CTLs are present tonight, and they will answer questions. If you could address your question to me, I'll kick it to Superintendent Bedden, who will then, find the right person to answer the question.
My question is, and unfortunately, I was not aware of the other meeting, so I couldn't attend, but are there any other options? Is this the only thing that was addressed, or the only option that were given? Or, were there other things on the table, and this is the last one that was decided?
And could I just get your name and address for the record?
It's Sherry O'Connor, 15 Lucaya Circle.
Okay, great. And Superintendent Bennett, would you like to address that question?
Sure, I'll be glad to. This topic has been studied for 2 years. There were many options that we looked at. We brought forward just this one. And just to address the issue of notification, a Connect 5 notification went out to all 6th and 7th grade parents. In March, a reminder was on the calendar that went out last Monday to all parents of the meeting last Wednesday. And we did get 100% delivery. We can tell. We can look up and make sure. If someone calls my office and say they didn't get the notice about this or didn't get the letter, I can actually go online, tell them exactly what time it was delivered to their house and if it was opened or not. So,
But you said for 2 years it's been discussed, and this is what the bottom line came out to be, the best solution that you could come up with?
yes.
All right. Thank you for your question, Sherry.
Yes.
Sherry. Was there anyone else in the audience that, see, now, there we go. All right, I knew this was going to happen. All right, ma'am in the black hat?
My name's Kathy Timmins. I live at 16 Pinewood Road. When you say things were studied for 2 years, and the cutting gym, the physical activity that they have during the day, versus maybe taking a few minutes out of music, which shows less. I understand people are music lovers, I understand that, but it's less physical activity that our kids need. Our kids need to have gym. So I'm just thinking, is there another outlet, or is gym the only outlet that you found?
The proposal really reduces all Unified Arts. As far as physical activity, the proposal that we have for the longer blocks and the integrated blocks of social studies and language arts or math and science would include activities. The reduction of phys ed was a consideration that we thought long and hard about. There are many, many middle school students who are in after-school sports, and middle school students are out at 1:40 and have from 1:40 till whatever time dinner is, that exercise could fit into that, to their schedule. So we took from each of the Unified Arts, not just phys ed.
All set, Kathy?
I am.
Okay, thank you. Yep, ma'am. Yep.
Hi. Julie Santini, 28 Kenwood Ave. I understand that they do get out at 1:40, but for 6 hours, they're, pretty much stuck in the classroom with one gym class, I guess every other day. Now it's going to be moved to every 3 days, potentially. And so many studies have shown the effects of physical education on attention, and that it makes for better students. And so I just don't understand how we can be cutting from that when they get one 45-minute break of physical activity every other day, as it is, in a 12-hour, I guess you could say, classroom time. So with that being said, moving the blocks to, I guess, an hour, what sort of changes will you be making so that the kids aren't just sitting in their seats? I guess.
That's a great question.
Good teaching involves more than one activity in one class period, whether it's 47 minutes or 60 minutes. What should be happening in those classes is small group work, when students get up from their seats, move around, work together, paired learning, individual learning, and activities. In many of the classrooms now, there's what we call differentiated instruction, because not all students learn at the same rate nor at the same way. Some students are visual learners, some students are audio learners, and so activities should be going on in those classes all the time. Middle school students need to be moving. I do not disagree with that. They may not be moving in the gym, but they would be moving in the classroom, and should be. In addition, there is students have snacks if they have late lunch. And Ms., can I?
Oh, absolutely.
Contact? No, it's Ms. McMenamin.
I just wanted to comment and sort of jump on to that same comment about kids needing to move. And I've been in the district 6 years, and in my second year as principal, I actually created the schedule that we have now that increased the number of minutes in physical education, and that was very well received by the parents at the time. And now, 5 years later, we're looking at the whole big picture, and we did have to dip into all of the unified arts to take some minutes to increase the minutes in the core subject blocks. But I agree with you about kids moving and having their brains active helps them become better learners. But I also agree that if you're studying music and you're learning an instrument and you're in tech ed and you're doing hands-on practice and you're in an art class being creative and free with your choices, that also stimulates brain activity. And so we were focused on keeping a well-rounded curriculum so that all of the unified arts could stay, as opposed to limiting or decreasing one or eliminating one completely from a kid's 3-year repertoire of courses. So I just wanted to add that piece in, because I do agree about the physical activity piece, and I think kids do have that opportunity to get up, move, work in groups, study an instrument, rehearsal, and all of those types of things, and in other unified arts classes as well.
Yeah, thank you very much for those comments, and thank you for your question. Julie. Okay. And anyone else in the audience have any comments or questions they'd like to make public before we make our public comments? All right, great. So I'm going to close the public comment section at this time. And I'd now like to hear, ideally, from each member of the committee, and I'm just going to go clockwise around the table here. So, never at a loss for words. I think we'll have Mrs. Burns go first.
And unfortunately, he's keeping me to a 3-minute limit, but, and I think I might have made it.
Okay.
I wrote it down just so that I could try to be concise with my thoughts, because firstly, I'd like to thank the administration and the staff on the think tank that worked so diligently on creating this schedule. I am appreciative very much of and grateful of the time invested in coming up with this. This is not something that's easily decided in such a short period of time, and I really appreciate all the effort that was involved in creating this. I also want to thank the audience for attending and the parents who took the time to send in responses to Superintendent Benton and to speak this evening. I'm glad to see parents' involvement in the issue and hope it continues, not only with what's before us tonight, but in general, because it helps us be able to know a different perspective as to how we need to consider certain things that do come before us. And without your input, we don't really quite have all the information. So I thank you for taking the time tonight to come here. So with that being said, I just have to say this proposal really has consumed my thoughts, literally, since it was first presented to us back in February. And overall, I have to say I really, really, really like the schedule. I really like the proposal, especially, and I support many of the aspects this proposal targets, especially the advisory group piece and the additional time for the core subject. And I can live with some of the sacrifices that need to be made in order to accomplish it. But I find myself consistently hitting the wall on a couple of things that I just can't seem to move past, and I've spent the past 3 weeks trying to figure out a way of getting over these things that I have reservations of. One example as to what was a concern of many of the parents this evening is I don't know if there is enough movement, and I mean I really don't know, if there's going to be enough movement within these classrooms to support the students who require more activity to be able to focus and access what these teachers are have the ability to then to present to them. And I think, I mean, I just don't feel secure, and I have a lot of reservations as to whether that's going to be sufficient and whether walking between the classrooms are going to be sufficient. And I'm really stuck on it, and I really don't know. And I don't know if it even goes to the 2-day cycle with back-to-back unified arts, and having gym once, gym comes up once a week, every other week. It really is weighing on me. I do believe the schedule would support and allow our teachers the opportunity to teach to the best of their talents. They are pivotal in the success of this schedule and the hard work that has been invested. And I'd be interested in more input with regards to how, just some input as to how this is what how they're going to utilize that time. But we also need to be able to teach to each student's potential and ability and make sure that we are effectively supporting each and every one of them in their diverse learning styles and their needs in order to reach this goal of achievement that we want for them. This schedule must reflect that, and that must be our priority is for student achievement and give them what they need and what they deserve ultimately. So my recommendation and my thoughts is that I would strongly encourage, and I'm just about there, but I just think that there needs to be some other, these concerns need to be addressed in some capacity and/or different options. And I'm not saying 50 different options, but the top 3 would work for me as to how we might be able to focus more on this. I just don't seem to have gotten enough answers to really push me over that edge, and I really want this so bad, and I just can't seem to get over the top of that. So other than that, and I would hope that parent involvement would be a part of this solution, because I think only then can I feel more comfortable stepping forth with it. So thank you for your time.
So thank you for your comments, Mrs. Burns. Mr. Mule, did you have any comments you'd like to share?
I do have a few comments. Thank you, Mr. Hayes. I want to thank the administration for the time and the think tank for the time that you guys took to put this together. I really appreciate that. I want to thank the parents for coming here tonight and for the feedback that you've given me over the past week. This is certainly a tough vote for all of us, and your feedback is really important to us. I want to say that there's a lot of things in this program that I really like. I think that the fact that we're going into a new high school pretty soon, part of the curriculum is going to get us to that 21st century education with a stronger curriculum, the strong critical thinking skills that we're teaching. We're teaching strong communication skills and stronger math skills. So I think the schedule talks to that, and I think it's important that we look at that. I also really like the advisory block. I think it's really important. Superintendent Benton talked about, in all her years being in public schools, this is the year she's seen some of the worst bullying and cyberbullying that's been going on. Some of the worst meanness of some of these kids, and having this advisory block, I think it's really important. Whether this passes or not, I would challenge the school committee and the administrators to somehow implement this advisory block going forward, one way or another, because I think it's really important for students to have advisors, especially at this age, especially in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. With everything and all the positive things, there's a couple of things that I'm really struggling with, and the physical education part of it, I'm struggling with as well as some of the parents are. And I don't think it's a lot with the physical part of it. Yes, we all have kids that play sports and they do physical things after school. But I remember when I was going to school, I don't think it's as hard as it is now. I think these kids are really going through 6 hours of school that's really intense. And to me, when I look at physical education, it's not so much a physical education part of it, it's a mental break. I think that these kids need a mental break. I think they look forward to it. I think it helps them. And that's a part that I'm really, really struggling with. The other part of it I'm struggling with is the language part of it, being the foreign language being reduced. I think there are kids within that middle school and even younger that it's really important to them. We talk about once they get into high school, that things won't really change, that they're going to pick up on it, that, yeah, I believe that. But personally myself, I'm bilingual, and I learned how to speak Spanish when I was very young, and my kids are learning how to speak Spanish when they're really young now. And I remember going into high school and I tried to learn a third language, and it was hard for me because I didn't take it as a young kid. So I really think that when they're younger, it's really the time for them to take up a language. I think reducing that, I'm having a hard time with that. So I think we need to find ways to implement some of the really positive things that we talked about. I think a lot of these things are really positive, but I don't feel really good about this program as is right now. I think that we can take some of these, some of the things in this program, and I think we can implement them at some point, but I just can't see myself, I'm not there yet. Thank you.
All right, so excellent comments as always, Mr. Mullis, and we'll go to Mrs. Bonish, who, by the way, is the only school committee member with a middle school student at the moment.
Oh, yeah. So I just want to say I agree that I think a change should be made because of the MCAS scores, and I'm all for longer class times. However, parts of this, as Manny was saying, parts of this particular proposal I'm having trouble with. Honestly, the physical education piece, I didn't really think a lot about until I got all these emails, and I do agree that that's a big piece of it. My piece that I'm struggling with a lot is the foreign language, because it's a core subject right now, and I agree that it should be a core subject, and I'm personally looking for more foreign language and earlier foreign language, and I feel like we're going in the wrong direction as far as that goes. I wish that there had been a couple of options. Someone in the audience said that. This to me is a very extreme change, and I think that if there were there was another option that wasn't quite as extreme, we could have looked at a different option. So. Yeah, so that's where I stand. I don't feel good about the way this particular proposal.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bonish. Good points. And as acting chair, I get to go last, Dr. Quick. So Dr. Quick gets to go next.
Okay. I really my thoughts really mimic a lot of what you're saying. I think for me, this has been probably one of the top two most difficult, going on this is almost my 6th year on the school committee. So this has been a really, really tough one to look at, because Mrs. Benton knows I am a strong advocate of foreign language. I doing what I do for a living, physical education, physical movement is incredibly important to brain development and everything else. That being said, for the last few years, I have nagged myself because of looking at the scores and how I feel that the middle school is lacking something and it desperately needs some change. When every year I'm looking at, how the other schools are doing, and for some reason that middle school to me, something in there is that, I don't want to say weak link, because I'm not saying anything against the strong curriculum and what they're doing there, but I feel there has to be a change, and there has to be a change, something in the right direction. So I've really been struggling with this because I don't want to make change for the sake of making change. And I really started in the beginning saying, this is just not working for me. But at the same time, I also realized that in order to make changes, we have to look at all the avenues and say, this is really our best, this is kind of where we need to go with it. We can't, unfortunately, make everybody happy. There are some students that are, who want more music and less PE. You know what I'm saying? It's not, phys ed is not necessarily, the utmost thing for each child. Some people want more, my daughter plays the cello, and I want her to really enjoy that and develop that musical sense. So the fact that they're taking from the Unified Arts really it was a grappling issue for me. But again, I think more so for me is the fact that I feel like change needs to be made, and I'm really kind of, listening to Mrs. Benton and the thoughts of the think tank. I feel that at this point, this may be the best way of moving in the right direction, in hopes that we tweak it as we go along, or something to that effect. But I feel like something needs to be done, and I feel like if this is what you really think is the best way to do it, then I'm on board with it. With those, I'm not gonna lie, I have those reservations, but I'm hoping that, every year we can take a look at it again and say, is this something that's working for us or is it not? But I understand the fact that, the kids aren't going to school 6 days a week. They're going to school 5 days a week. As parents, it's my job when my kids get out of school to say, get your butt outside. You're not playing video games. You're getting outside. And so, again, don't get me wrong. If we could do yoga every day in school, I would be the happiest person ever. But I do think, for me, at least in my heart of hearts, that the change needs to be made, because every year I'm not seeing those advancements that I want to see those middle school students make. And my kid's going to middle school in a couple of years, and I want to see changes, and I want to see them soon. So those are my thoughts.
That's great to hear, Dr. Quick, and it's my turn now, and I'm not going to mix any words there. So, and again, I just want to echo the thank yous to Superintendent Ben, Principal McMiniman, and the think tank. I think you guys did a fantastic job. And of course, I have a prepared statement. What else do you expect? Do I want to see student achievement measured in large part by standardized testing improve at the middle school? Yes. Do I want to support the middle school administration in its efforts to take a comprehensive approach to improving student achievement, from the new teacher evaluations to increase in professional development, from extra after-school help to improvements in the curriculum and in the daily schedule? Yes. Do I want to add 33 hours in instructional time to each of the 4 core subjects, math, English, science, and social studies? Yes. Do I think these additional hours will, as part of a comprehensive approach, increase student achievement? Yes. Do I want to replace the 10-minute homeroom with a 20-minute advisory period to better address the social and emotional needs of our students? Yes. Do I want a schedule that creates the expectation among our educators that they must collaborate more and teach in a more interdisciplinary manner? Yes. Do I want a schedule that creates a learning environment where the instruction of and use of technology is fully integrated into the classroom? Yes. So 2 years ago, Superintendent Benton asked Principal McMiniman, and I'm butchering your name, I'm sure, I apologize. It's take me 3 years, I'll get it, to explore increasing instruction time in math, English, and science in response to the school's poor MCAS results, particularly in grade 8. 2 years ago, MCAS results, 2010. So in 2010, 15% of 8th graders were failing or needs improvement in English. Today, 15% remain in failing or needs improvement. In 2010, 35% of 8th graders were failing or needs improvement in math. Today, 35% remain in failing or needs improvement. In 2010, 58% of 8th graders were in failing or needs improvement in science. And today, actually 63% of 8th graders are in failing or needs improvement. So in other words, our MCAS scores have not improved over the past 2 years. I mean, technically we made AYP because we actually got worse last year, then we improved a little bit, but we're basically at the same level. In some respects, like in science, we've actually gotten worse. Math and English, we're same over 2 years, despite all the efforts. So, respectfully, where are the concerned phone calls, emails, letters, and Facebook posts? And I love Facebook. But where were the Facebook posts from my constituents angered about these poor MCAS scores? So if the school committee rejects this proposal, a proposal, by the way, endorsed by the entire district's leadership team, the very same people we entrust to run our school system, what is our plan going forward on improving student learning at the middle school? We own the budget, we own the policy manual, we own the strategic plan, we own this problem. Okay. I see two sides of every coin, though, however. Let me turn the page. Do I want to cut 102 hours in foreign language instructional time? Of course not. But I believe the studies that show that gains at the middle school level in foreign language are negligible unless you offer foreign language in the lower grades, and that's a fact. Do I want to cut 28 and a half hours in physical education time? Of course not. We certainly have a childhood obesity crisis. I'm occasionally reminded we have an adult obesity crisis. But we also, however, have a student achievement crisis at the middle school. And parents and schools need to collaborate, and we need to solve these problems together. And just behind the scenes, I've been throwing out some compromises. We talk about different options, and I suggested, what if we only add 6 minutes to math, science, English, and social studies, and then we'd have to reduce the rest of the classes by 8 minutes, but we would still keep foreign language every day, and we'd have gym every other day. They'd just be at 41 minutes as opposed to the current 49. But it just doesn't work. There's not enough teachers, not enough classrooms, and it doesn't work. It just can't work in the schedule. It's been explained to me. But, we're looking for compromises. Do I believe a sufficient job was done in making parents aware of these potential changes? Maybe. Do I believe presenting the school committee with only one schedule option, take it or leave it, was best? No. Am I 100% comfortable with the level of specificity given to the committee in regards to certain pieces of the proposal? No, but I understand certain questions are unanswerable until the proposal is put into place, and then we tweak. So do I think overall this proposal does more good than bad? Absolutely. The pros outweigh the cons, and to me it's not even that close. It was a bit of a tough vote because of the parent feedback, but I'm feeling pretty sure here how I'm voting. So it's not perfect, but it's certainly much better than the status quo, which is absolutely unacceptable. 0 MCAS gains over the last 2 years. And I put out we all belong to the Mass Association of School Committees, and many of us belong on the listserv. And I put out an email asking my fellow school committee members throughout the state, have any of your middle schools implemented a similar schedule? And lo and behold, at 5:43 tonight, I got an email from the Beverly School Committee, the chairwoman, Maria Decker. I just want to share a portion of it. 5 years ago, our middle school principal proposed a similar change to the schedule, and it has been in place since. The core subjects, math, English, science, social studies, and foreign language, they consider foreign language a core subject, meet every day for 57 minutes. The expressive arts, PE, health, technology, education, computers, art, music, drama, and American Sign Language, all rotate on a 30 school day cycle over the course of the year. Not all expressive arts are taken each year, but over the middle school experience, all students get at least 2 rotations of each subject. Since that time, the school has moved from a level 3 status to a level 2 status. So student achievement as a measure by MCAS scores has been positively affected. And I'll just jump below another great idea. The principal there has also instituted so the principal has instituted a monthly student advisory block in which groups of students and an adult/building employee, includes all staff, explore subjects and activities to create a more positive school culture and climate. This has reduced student discipline issues and enhanced the feeling of ownership and pride in the school, which also positively affected student achievement. Best of luck as you explore this, Maria. So a lot of similarities to what's being proposed to us tonight. I even like I see some parallels between the student advisement period and the what they call a student advocacy block. But something similar is working in Beverly. MCAS scores, level 3 to level 2. I'm sure if I hadn't, I sent this out a couple days ago. I wish I had sent it out sooner. I probably would have gotten more similar responses. But if it can work in Beverly, why can't it work in Wilmington? And I agree with Dr. Quick. I think, as Superintendent Ben mentioned previously, it's a pilot program. We're going to constantly monitor it, and we will make tweaks as necessary. So at this point, I'm going to give, just real quick, because I'm going to give, did any other committee members want to speak? Everyone feeling confident in where they've left things? I can count to 2. I can count to 3. What do we? Okay, all right. So Superintendent Ben, did you want to give us a recommendation?
Yes.
Thank you.
And I don't normally do this, but I did write down my comments, and so
I'm rubbing off on you.
9 years ago, when I came to Wilmington, over and over again, I was often asked, why our students are not performing as well as students in surrounding communities. At that time, only 64% of our students went on to higher ed. We have worked very hard to change that. Today, over 94% of our high school students continue on to higher ed. Over the past 9 years, we have succeeded in increasing high school scores, and more students, as you heard earlier tonight, are receiving academic recognition. Elementary schools have found ways to address low test scores as well, but the middle school has not made the same type of progress. Over the past 2 years, I did ask the middle school administration and staff to work together to come up with a recommendation. They worked tirelessly researching this topic and finding a way to address the stagnation. They came up with a plan that I support 100%. Over the past 3 weeks, I have heard input from approximately 27 parents, including the emails Mr. Hayes referenced regarding the middle school program. I have heard comments and questions related to physical education, foreign language, 6-day rotation, and yes, I even heard from some that totally support our efforts.
Me too.
The reason why I made these recommendations is based on the belief our students in the middle school are not performing at a high level. We can do better. They can do better. It is our hope to create a culture at the middle school that embraces the belief that all students need a rigorous and relevant curriculum and that all children can learn. It is our hope that every student will have an adult advocate through an advisory period. It is our hope that high expectations will be set where we can hold both students and adults accountable for students' continuous improvement. We want to provide students with real-world applications of the skills and knowledge taught in the academic curricula. We want to provide the teachers a core curriculum with the time that they've been begging for to teach their subject matter. We want to create multiple pathways to rigor and relevance. And lastly, we want to establish a climate of safety and respect. Each of these components requires the support of administration, staff, parents, and school committee. And it is clear to me that we have not convinced you. Therefore, I am recommending that we continue with the regular schedule next year, which means, and I remind you, reducing one team by half due to the enrollment because we had to cut 4.6 teachers at the middle school, and continue to garner more evidence and support to convince all of you in the middle school community that we can do better. I believe we owe it to every one of those students at the middle school. I appreciate the support that I have received this evening and know in my heart that the recommendation is the right recommendation. Next year, we will have a new evaluation system in place. All teachers will be doing pre- and post-testing, so we will be able to publicly display our progress or lack thereof. This data will help us shape the future of the middle school. Lastly, I want to commend the members of the think tank who had the courage and the courage to acknowledge that we can do better and put forth a model that could actually achieve our goal of increasing students' achievement. And to the CTLs and principals throughout the district who unanimously supported the proposal. Thank you.
So at this point, are we just going to move on to the next agenda item?
Yeah, I'm taking it off.
Okay, so we're going to withdraw that from the agenda, and I guess we have to switch back seats. Would you like me to stay?
Yes.
You sure?
Sure.
Okay, all right, hey, all right. Okay, so next on the agenda, and again, thank you all for coming, and feel free to stay for the rest of the meeting. All right, so next up on the agenda is, under new business, is the school choice vote.
This is an annual item that the school committee is required by state law to vote on. This will determine whether the school committee will participate in the state school choice program for the 2013-14 year. Since 1994, when the legislature enacted the school choice program, the Wilmington School Committee has annually voted not to participate. There are a wide variety of philosophical as well as practical reasons to either participate or not. In previous years, your decision not to participate has been based, frankly, on the lack of available space for students outside of Wilmington. This situation remains the case for 2013 through 2014 at most of the levels. Therefore, I recommend that you do not participate in the state schools choice program.
All right, thank you, Superintendent Ben. Does any board members have any questions or comments on this agenda item? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to not participate in the state school choice program because of a lack of available space to accommodate out-of-town students? Okay.
I move that the Wilmington School Committee vote not to participate in the state schools choice program because of lack of available space to accommodate out-of-town students.
All right, thank you, Dr. Quick. Is there a second? So, motion made by Dr. Quick, second by Mrs. Burns. All those in favor? All right, so that was unanimous. Okay, so next up on the agenda item, new business number 2, financial report.
We have provided for you a report on the status of the Wilmington Public Schools FY 2013 budget. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Again, kudos to Mr. Ruggiero for his excellent work.
Yes, I just agree. Kudos to you, Mr. Ruggiero. Does any board members have any questions or comments on this agenda item? All right, do we need a formal vote, or we're all set there? Okay. All right, so we're going to move on to agenda item 6.3, vote on the last day of school. Superintendent Ben?
I almost feel like I'm jinxing everyone because I feel like now April 25th, we're going to have a snowstorm because I planned an outdoor activity on the town common. But I'm recommending, as you know, we've had experienced 6 snow days this year. Assuming no more postponed days for the remainder of the year, the 180th school date would fall on June 20th. I'm asking you to make a motion to approve the 180th day of school as June 20th, a full day for staff and half day for students.
Any questions or comments on this agenda item from the board? Did anyone want to make a motion to the effect of Superintendent Ben? Mr. Mullis?
Make a motion to approve the 180th day of the 2012-2013 school year as June 20th.
All right, and is there a second? Second, Mrs. Bonish. So that was a motion made by Mr. Mullis, second by Mrs. Bonish. All those in favor? Unanimous. So, this is fun. I like this. All right. I'm running for re-election. I'm declaring it right now. No. Okay.
A write-in campaign, did you say?
Yeah, you can do
Well, there's several ways to skin a cat, but I don't think a sticker campaign is the way to go. So agenda item 6.4, Wilmington Public Schools 2013 Wildcat Summer Sports Clinics.
In your packet this evening is a proposal to continue the very successful Wildcat Summer Sports Clinic. All of the programs would be at the middle school. They're for grades 1 through 8. And the cost for each of the 5-day clinics is $175 per child for the child's first clinic and $150 for each additional clinic. And we want to offer boys basketball, field hockey, volleyball, girls basketball, flag football, all sports, boys and girls soccer, and boys and girls lacrosse. All clinics, with the exception of volleyball, will run 8:30 to 2:30, Monday through Thursday, and 8:30 to 12:30 on Friday. Volleyball will run July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd from 8:30 to 2:30.
All right, thank you, Superintendent Ben. Did any board members have a question or comment on this agenda item? I did have a quick question, Mr. Ruggiero. Well, first of all, I just think it's great that we're continuing this despite the high school construction, so that's fantastic. And my question, and I don't know how to explain this well, but it says here that it's $175 for the first clinic and then $150 for every clinic afterwards. What if I'm a parent and I have 2 children that want to participate? Does the second child get the $150, or would they be considered $175?
So I believe the $175, and the second clinic would be $150.
Okay.
For the same child.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And again, we do have hardships are allowed if there's an issue.
That's good to know. Okay, good to hear. All right, no more questions or comments there? All right, so would anyone like to make a motion to approve the 2013 Wildcats Summer Sports Clinics? Mrs. Bonish?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2013 Wildcats Summer Sports Clinics.
Is there a second? Second, Mrs. Burns. So Mrs. Bonish made the motion, Mrs. Burns seconded the motion. All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Next step on the agenda is public comments. Is there anyone in the public who would like to make a comment? No? All right, that's great. Next up is other reports, subcommittee reports, and I think at this time we'll discuss, and I know Dr. Quick has something, others may as well. Right, yes, so I think what we're going to do first, though, is discuss Mrs. Burns, as legislative representative, wrote a letter on our behalf, or drafted a letter on our behalf, and why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Mrs. Burns?
A bunch of, as Mr. Hayes has stated, we are on the Mass PAC link, and a lot of school committees in Massachusetts have started writing letters to their representatives in Washington with regards to gun initiatives and controls that is going before the Senate and Congress, which I believe it was voted on in the Senate today, actually. And on the heels of our Alice presentation back in March, I decided to get in on it, and I think it's a great opportunity to voice where I think we stand with regards to security in our schools in relation to the legislation that they're trying to put through Congress and such. And so I wrote a letter to U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren on behalf of the school committee, which I'd like to read now for your approval. Dear Senator Warren, on behalf of the Wilmington School Committee, I am writing to you today to encourage you to continue to speak out vigorously for stronger gun control measures, as well as advocate for stronger support and funding for mental health services in our country. It is our shared opinion as educators, parents, and community members that both aspects are essential to reduce gun violence nationally. Since April 20th, 1999, there have been 31 school shootings across our country. In almost all of the cases, those responsible suffered from some sort of diminished capacity or had a history of mental illness and/or cognitive impairment, which were contributing factors to these events. In response to these tragedies, school districts are forced to create and continually modify emergency protocols with hope that it will keep our students, staff, and administrators reasonably safe and give them a chance to react should they ever be faced with such a situation. But no matter how many security and safety procedures we create, we know how vulnerable we still are. Simply put, we are fortresses of education. As a whole, we are not speaking out against gun ownership or the right to bear arms. As elected representatives of Wilmington, Mass., we are appealing to our federal and state representatives to speak rationally on behalf of our families in opposing any legislation allowing guns in schools and increasing the need for stricter gun selling and purchasing requirements while minimizing current loopholes in the process, reinstating the 2004 ban on military semi-automatic weapons, and encapsulating the need for the development of comprehensive mental health supports as a part of these initiatives. As we witnessed on December 14th, 2012 in Newtown, Connecticut, it only takes 5 minutes to change one's life and community forever. Like many other communities, we continue to hug our children a little longer as we send them off to school each day. That is why we are resolved to continue to work towards giving our children a learning environment which will not only keep them safe, but continue to allow for them to grow and develop to meet their fullest potential. They should not have to worry about their life. They should not have to worry that their lives could be at risk by going to school. Their parents and the community at large deserve and expect the same. Sincerely, M.J. Burns, on behalf of the rest of the committee, and with the intent that this will also be sent to Senator Cohen, Congressman Ed Markey, Governor Patrick, Senator Tarr, and State Representatives Maselli and Gordon. So I would welcome any feedback or alterations or any additional representation that that you might recommend. I'd be happy to take any consideration. But I would like to, since it is going before Congress this week, I believe, I would like to try to get this out as soon as possible.
Sure, that sounds great. So any questions, comments, edits, suggestions for Mrs. Burns? Dr. Quick?
I just wanted to say thank you. You did an excellent job.
Thank you.
No changes on my part.
Great. Mr. Mullis?
Just, again, wanted to say thank you. Having small children, having a lot of friends that have small children in the school system, this is really something that just very important to us. So thank you for taking your time.
Thank you, I
writing this.
appreciate that.
Fantastic. Chairwoman King?
We've just started this going as a kind of a regular thing now, and you've written 2 excellent letters. We can't thank you enough.
Thank you, I appreciate
Great job.
that.
Thank you.
I do appreciate that, thank you.
So it sounds like, Mrs. Burns, you can send those letters tomorrow morning.
Everyone in agreement?
Did we want to take a formal vote, Mrs. Burns? It's up to you.
It's whatever's proper protocol, I don't want to. Okay,
The
thank
less
you.
votes we have to take, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Very good.
Okay, great.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Mr. Mueller, or Mrs. Bonish, did you have anything you wanted to share under board members' subcommittee reports? Are we all set? I think we're all set. Now, Dr. Cook, I know you have something to share.
I have two.
Yes. Hit us. Can't wait.
So, first is the Wilmington Educational Foundation. I want to thank everybody who came out and supported the Education Foundation at the Spelling Bee. I think everybody who joined us had a great time, and we did really well for our first year, so we were really excited. We raised over $5,000, so we were really excited about that. So I really want to thank everybody for their support, and next year will be bigger and better. So I want to thank everybody for that. That's about it as far as the WEF goes. Now on to the School Health Advisory Council and Wellness Committee. Their meeting was on March 20th. Just a few interesting things. They're having part of school wellness, the district-wide worksite wellness on the move pedometer challenge. It's a new program, so they're doing one with some students and one with staff. They have 130 staff participating, 13 teams of 10. The staff are enjoying the fun competition and feeling healthy, and basically what they're doing is the pedometer challenge. They had total steps as of the date of our meeting, 38,300, I'm sorry, did I say that right? 38,000, I think it's wrong. It's a lot. Some
You and I both need some increase in instructional time for math.
I think so. It's a lot. It's a heck of a lot. But it was cute. They each came up with team names, and some of the names they had was Holy Guacamoles, Mixed Bag of Nuts, Happy Feet. So they're really doing a great job with that. And at the Woburn Street School, students are participating in a pedometer program. 156 students purchased pedometers either through the school. Some had them on their own, or some from the past WEF walks. So that's really exciting to see. Hopefully more students will have more of a program through the other schools. The other thing is they're having a school wellness logo contest, and what they did was they had middle school students submit hand-drawn logos for the wellness committee. 6 entries were selected as finalists, and basically what they did was they had us vote, and wellness committee members voted, and they were selecting a first, second, and third place winners. Members agreed to combine, basically what happened was members agreed to combine components from all the 3 drawings into one final wellness logo. So that's another great thing that they're doing. The pre-prom program as part of the Wildcat Project was March 26th from 6:30 to 7:30. They were having student leadership trainings in April. Medical Careers Club, I always find this, I love this. This is not stuff that we had when I was younger, so I really enjoy reading, listening in on these things. Nurse Row organized job shadows at the Wilmington Healthcare Center and Melrose Wakefield Hospital, so the students in the nursing in the Medical Careers Club got hands-on experience in nursing and other fields, which can help them in deciding if that job is something that they might want to pursue in college. So those types of things are really, I love seeing that at the high school levels. And then the last thing is the Employee Health and Benefits Fair is April 11th from 1:30 to 4:30 in the town hall for all staff and town employees. And that's it.
Any questions for Dr. Quick? All right, I have a few things. Chairwoman Kane, did you have anything?
Thank you, Mr. Hayes.
Okay, so the Technology Task Force is meeting tomorrow, Thursday, April 11th at 9 o'clock at the Roman House. The Special Education Parent Advisory Council, CPAC, is hosting a workshop for parents on Thursday, April 25th at 6:30 in the high school library. The name of the workshop is Understanding My Child's Learning Style, and more information is available on the Wilmington CPAC website. The High School Building Committee will be at the groundbreaking ceremony, also on Thursday, April 25th at noon on the Town Common. I'm sure all the school committee members will be there, and the public is invited. And lastly, I didn't know what I was walking into when I went to this meeting. I attended a legislative forum in Tewksbury on March 29th with Mitchell Chester, Commissioner of Elementary and Secondary Education, and State Senator Barry Feingold, who actually serves on the Senate's Education Committee. The primary issue discussed for the hour I was present involved the perceived unlevel playing fields that the vocational and technical schools enjoy compared to public school districts. And I'm going to skip the details, but I'll just emphasize Tewksbury hosted it. And the state has established a task force to look at these budget factors and admission policy factors concerning technical and vocational schools, and they'll be delivering their findings by the end of this calendar year. And that's something for our committee's legislative representative to keep an eye on. So, that's what that was about. But, okay, so that's it. Did anyone have any questions or comments for me? I think we're all set. All right, so next up on the agenda is correspondence. Mrs. Bonish, did we have any correspondence?
I have one. No. So this is a letter from Senator Tarr in response to MJ's...
Honorable MJ, thank you.
That's right, the Honorable MJ Burns.
He must not know you.
Obviously.
Dear School Committee Woman Burns, thank you for contacting me to express your support for the inclusion of increased education funding in the Commonwealth's fiscal year 2014 budget. While I do not believe that the governor's budget proposal for massive increases in taxation and new spending is viable, I continue to support the prioritization of Chapter 70 educational funding in our state's budget appropriations. Thus, I have and will continue to work to secure an increase for Wilmington of the magnitude the governor has proposed, and will collaborate with Representative Jim Maselli and Representative Ken Gordon in that effort. I also want to assure you that I strongly support the other education initiatives you outlined in your March 1st letter, including increasing the cap for out-of-district special education by $25,000, restoring the recent 9C cuts to the circuit breaker account, and increasing funding for literacy, early education, and higher education programs. Although we are still facing difficult economic conditions in Massachusetts and the prospect of new federal funding cutbacks, the budget process centers around setting spending priorities, and I firmly believe education funding should be at or near the top of this list of priorities. Information on the House and Senate's FY14 budget proposals, due to be released in April and May respectively, as well as other information relative to the budgetary process, will be made available upon release on the main webpage of the General Court, www.malegislature.gov. I look forward to working with you and the other members of the Wilmington School Committee in the months ahead to advocate for our shared budgetary and legislative priorities, and hope that you will not hesitate to contact me if I can be of any further assistance to you or to the committee at any time in the future. Sincerely, Bruce Tarr, State Senator.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much for reading that, Mrs. Bonish, and thank you very much for writing and sending that, Mrs. Burns.
You're welcome.
Great. And did anyone have any questions or comments regarding that, or yes, this is Dr. Quick?
I just missed something. I just wanted to make sure to mention STEM Fair. That is something else that the WEF, it's become an annual, hopefully it'll continue and continue. It was amazing last year, and I'm sure it's going to be even better this year. So just to let everybody know, April 23rd, 2013, this year, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock in the Wilmington Middle School Cafe, so cafeteria. So please come support STEM and have a great time. Thank you. Sorry I missed that.
I don't want this meeting to end. That's okay. Chairwoman Kane, did you have a question?
I just had a comment. And with the WEF also sponsored this past week a presentation of To Kill a Mockingbird for the high school, and it was spectacular. They did a fabulous job. Then they had it was full. The auditorium was full, but then they led a discussion with the students of what the themes were and how people were reacting to things, and the students, their answers were excellent. They were excellent there. So I thank the WEF for that opportunity to have that come here. That was terrific.
Agreed. All right. Thank you for those comments, Dr. Quick and Chairwoman Kane. Next up on the agenda is future meeting dates and agenda items. So on April 24th, Superintendent Benton.
I got to make a change.
Oh, don't take that technology plan off.
You're going to get it tomorrow, but we're not going to present till May because of a daycare issue.
I'll babysit. Okay, bring it. Okay, all right.
I knew that.
Okay, so.
So on the next meeting, I will bring forward to you the reductions, that the revised recommended budget reductions based on not moving forward with the middle school program.
All right, well, we will unfortunately look forward to those. And
And the school calendars.
and the school calendars, and then we're also meeting, next meeting after that would be May 8th. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Dr. Quick makes the motion. Is there a second? Mrs. Bonish seconds the motion. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you, Robert, you did a fabulous job. Thank you, Mr.